The three shadow figures stood perfectly still on the blackened snow. Their bodies rippled like smoke, but each movement felt deliberate, focused entirely on Alva. Tipp stumbled backwards. Three? One was nightmare level already. Eldrin raised his staff. Stay behind me. Do not let them touch you. Alva couldn't move. The shadows didn't rush or lunge. They watched, as if trying to read her thoughts. The first tilted its head. A second later, the other two copied the motion exactly. A cold shiver ran down her spine. Why are they doing that? She whispered. Shadows mimic what they study, Eldrin said grimly. They're trying to understand you. Great, Tipp muttered. They're creepy and curious. The figures stepped forward in unison. With each step, the blackened snow spread outward, pulsing like ink dropped in water. Alva clutched her chest. Eldrin, I feel something, like they're pulling on me. How? He asked sharply. I don't know. It feels like they're tugging at my light. Eldrin's expression tightened. Then they're feeding. They sense your magic waking. Feeding? Alva's voice cracked. Yes, Eldrin said. And you are the strongest source here. Tipp grabbed her arm. Alva, this is your cue to glow. Please glow. Any amount of glow. I can't just glow on demand. A deep vibration rolled across the ridge. The center shadow extended a long tendril toward her. The pull in her chest grew painful, like energy being drained from inside her. Eldrin! She gasped. It's getting stronger. Focus on the warmth, he ordered. Find the spark. You did it before. That was an accident. The shadows advanced again. The darkness spread faster now, crawling across the snow, reaching toward her boots. Panic tightened her throat. Then a tiny warmth flickered inside her chest. A spark. Her hand glowed faintly, weak, but real. Tipp shouted, Yes! Glow achieved. Mini glow. Micro glow. But it counts. The shadows recoiled a few inches, their forms shuddering. Alva stared at her glowing fingers. It worked. Barely, Eldrin said. Enough to slow them, not stop them. As if hearing him, the shadows steadied again, raising their tendrils higher. Eldrin stepped in front of her, staff glowing weakly. We retreat, now. Tipp tugged Alva's sleeve. Move your legs. Move all of them. Alva stumbled backward. The glow in her hand faded quickly, the spark weakening as fear overtook her. Behind them, the shadows flowed forward across the snow. Silent, relentless, and certain. They weren't just chasing. They were hunting. Alva, Tipp, and Eldrin moved quickly toward the village, but the three shadows followed at a steady, silent pace. They didn't run, they glided, and somehow that made it worse. Tipp waved his arms. Why don't they slow down? Monsters should slow down. Shadows do not tire, Eldrin said. They only follow. Alva glanced back. As the shadows crossed the place where her spark had flared, the faint gold in the snow vanished, absorbed into their darkness. A jolt hit her chest. They took my light, she whispered. Yes, Eldrin said. Any trace of magic they find, they consume. They reached the first row of lanterns. Some flickered weakly. Others brightened slightly when Alva passed beneath them, but dimmed again as soon as she moved on. The shadows ignored the lanterns entirely. Why don't they drain those lights? Alva asked. Because your magic is stronger, Eldrin replied, and knew they want you. Wonderful, Tipp groaned. As they entered Liesheim, worried nisses peeked from their windows. One pointed, horrified. "Speaker, they crossed the village line." Eldrin's jaw tightened. That should not be possible. Alva felt the air grow colder. So even the village is losing protection now. "Yes," he said. "The heart is weakening faster than expected." The three shadows reached the first cottage and stopped. Instead of spreading, they all turned their heads toward Alva, perfectly synchronized. Tipp's voice dropped to a squeak. "Okay, that's rude and terrifying." Eldrin motioned urgently. "Into the hall, quickly!" They hurried up the steps. Alva reached the door when one shadow suddenly lunged forward, much faster than before. She stumbled. Tipp screamed, "It's speeding up! Eldrin, help!" Eldrin slammed his staff to the ground. A thin arc of gold rippled across the snow. The shadows froze just beyond it, their forms trembling as they pushed against the barrier. Alva gasped. "You stopped them?" "For a moment," Eldrin said. "But the barrier won't hold." Cracks of darkness crawled across the golden line. The shadows pushed harder, their shapes warping like they were trying to squeeze through invisible cracks. "Tipp," Alva whispered, "they're breaking it. They're breaking it." Tipp shrieked louder. Eldrin's eyes widened. "Inside, now!" Alva rushed through the hall doors. Tipp darted after her. Eldrin followed and pressed a glowing symbol into the wood, sealing it with light. A heartbeat of silence passed. Then a heavy thud shook the door. Alva's breath caught. The shadows had reached the hall, and they were trying to get in. The heavy doors of the hall shuddered again, harder this time. Dust drifted from the ceiling. Alva backed away, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Tipp pressed himself against her leg. "They're not supposed to touch the hall. They've never touched the hall." Eldrin held his glowing staff toward the trembling wood. The shadows should not be this bold unless the heart is weakening faster than we feared. Another impact shook the doors. A sharp crack split through one of the wooden panels. Alva gasped. "They're breaking through!" "No," Eldrin said, though his voice wavered. "They are testing the barrier. They want to know how close they can get to you." Alva's stomach dropped. "Why me? I can barely make a spark." "Exactly," Tipp whispered. "Your new magic. Tasty magic. Like fresh cookies." "Tipp!" Eldrin snapped. The door shuttered again. This time, a thin tendril of darkness slipped through the crack. Just a wisp, but unmistakable. It curled upward like smoke, searching for air. Alva stumbled back. "It got inside." "Only a fragment," Eldrin said, raising his staff. "Stay behind me." The tendril stretched higher. As it moved, the lanterns on the walls flickered violently. Alva felt a cold pressure build inside her chest, like fingers closing around her heart. "It's pulling again," she whispered. Tipp grabbed her sleeve, then pushed back. "Glow! Spark! Light! Anything! I can't just—" The tendril shifted sharply toward her. Her breath froze. Eldrin thrust his staff forward. A burst of gold shot across the floor, slamming into the tendril. The shadow hissed, a thin, twisting sound, before snapping back through the crack in the door. Silence fell, but only for a moment. Then the shadows outside hit the doors in unison. Boom! The whole hall shook. Light cracked along the edges of Eldrin's seal, fading faster with each strike. Tipp squeaked, "We're going to need a bigger door." Eldrin turned to Alva, urgency blazing in his eyes. "You must try again. Summon your light." I don't know how." "You do," he insisted. "You already did. You felt it. Trust that spark. Another boom. More cracks splintered across the doors. Alva pressed a hand to her chest. The warmth flickered weakly, more like a memory than a flame. "Come on," she whispered. "Please." The shadows struck again. The doors split open at the top, just enough for darkness to seep through in thin, curling tendrils. Eldrin raised his staff with both hands. "Alva, now!" She closed her eyes and reached deep, searching for the spark. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then a pulse. A tiny glow lit her palm. The tendrils paused. The shadows fell silent. Then, slowly, terrifyingly, they whispered her name again, and the doors began to open.